everybody. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Zee Garcia. Hello.
Sam Healy. Welcome back, folks.
Well, welcome back. Today we're going 10 years in the past and taking a look at 2008.
Back. Gone.
Now, I did a list of this earlier this year, 2008, but I thought we would want to hear from these guys. And I like talking about 10 years ago, where
That's
it is
why he
now.
picked his list.
You've
He
done
already
this
had
already?
it done. He already had it done.
I could have said I
Man.
could guess yours and just check that list.
Yep.
You could have.
Man.
Did you guess mine?
No.
Oh.
But I could have. I thought about it and then I decided to have a sandwich.
I think 2008 was one of the most important years of gaming. I really
I'm
do.
right there with you on that one.
This is definitely, I could have made a top 50
This
probably.
is one of the most important years in gaming.
Yeah, I think so. A couple things got started in 2008. These are not probably on either of your lists because I don't think either of you played them. But Fantasy Flight started their
It's
LC,
already getting snooty on us.
their living card game. No, the living card game thing. And the Call of Cthulhu and Game of Thrones started in 2008.
Check.
This 2008 was definitely the year that cooperative games came into their own category.
Check.
Huh?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Is this the?
Did you look up the wrong year? What is going on?
2008?
That's not a question.
No. Wait.
I understand the whole LCG, but cooperative.
Lord of the Rings cooperative game came out this year?
No.
No.
We're talking
then
about the good
you can't
ones.
say that then. That is a good one.
Oh no, I get that. But see, Lord of the Rings, when it came out, it was like by itself. It didn't cause a revolution in gaming. It was there.
One could say it started it.
Oh, we didn't start
Come on,
the
it was
fight.
the first.
No, the first
It
doesn't
was
mean there's always
technically
the
not the first, but it was the first targeted at basically adults, yes. But again, what Tom is saying is the year that it sort of exploded was 2008.
Well, probably the year it exploded was 2009.
Okay, but that's not what he
but
said.
2008 was the year I think that caused it.
He said that this is the year that co-op gaming became its own genre.
Yes, because
I
one
do not
game
agree
does not
with that.
make a genre.
Oh, why not?
Because that's how it
Your
is.
silence answers my question.
The silence. I don't know how to respond. I don't know how to respond to this nonsense.
Touche, Sarah Touche. That's how you say that, right?
No, it's touche.
There was, anyhow, I own, in my top 10 here, I own almost all of them still.
And I own all of these except I got rid of the last one.
Yeah, I don't know if I have my last one either, but I don't have to worry about it because they're making a 10th anniversary edition of it this year. In fact, most of the games, again, I think there's some proof how good 2008 is because most of these games either have a reprint, are still in print, or have a 10th anniversary edition coming.
There's a lot of good stuff. It seemed like a really
For
strong
example,
year. In my opinion, it
both
seemed
your
like
number
a.
ones, which I haven't seen, have a 10th anniversary edition coming out this year.
You don't know what my number one is. Do not presume, sir. Liquid you up in there.
I'm pretty sure you don't, because my game ain't got a 10th anniversary coming.
No.
Or you haven't heard about it.
Maybe I haven't heard about it, but
You don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's not even 10 years old. He typed in the wrong year.
All right, let's get started.
I will not say that you're wrong,
Let's
but
start and see what
I'm
happens.
pretty sure.
Let's start. and
Pretty
see
sure
what's-
I looked at the right year.
Number 10.
All right, my number 10 is the one that North Star has come out with 10th anniversary edition of, and that's Say Anything.
Yes, correct year.
Not my number one.
Just making
No, I didn't say it
sure.
was your number one. No, but Say Anything,
Well,
my
you said
daughter,
my number one has the 10th anniversary.
my daughter
of
just
it.
emailed me and said I need games for a large group of people. So one of the games I'm sending her is Say Anything
Yep.
because that one works really well. It also flows. Say Anything was the game that kind of killed apples to apples for me because up to this point we're like
Absolutely.
apples. With Say Anything, I was like, ooh, I don't have to wait for the good card. I can just write what the answer is. And
Right.
it can get really funny. It works with the group. Do you want to play Cards Against Humanity style? You can with Say Anything. But you can because you can write anything you want.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit more clever than saying, here's the one card that's always going to win. I also like how in Say Anything, the answers tend to build off each other. Like you'll reference an answer that was 6 turns ago, and that sort of thing gets funny. But I really like this one. Looking forward to the reprint. Say Anything.
All right, my number 10 is a game that came about from the revision of a classic game called Risk. And this one was the one that they only made a few copies of, like 250 copies of or something like Risk Black Ops. Now, the revised edition came out later on in the year, but they kind of, I guess, soft launched. I guess would be the way for it.
Like
this game,
the completely black one, right?
Yes.
It was the,
Yeah.
Oh
completely.
my goodness, it was such a ridiculous thing. No,
It was.
It was cool
It
looking.
was.
I mean, it was.
no, but it was kind of like, you're getting a black box.
I know,
and I was
right?
like, I am. How much is it going for on eBay? Because they were like $300-400 instantly.
Yeah.
They were. I kept mine for a long time.
Mine.
Sold it.
Yeah, we only got one. We didn't get two. That'd been nice.
Well, then it was you gave it to him.
I
then,
don't
I
know.
guess.
Maybe.
He kept it for a long time
Maybe.
until he realized, oh wait, this is Risk.
Well, that is the truth, though, right? It was better than Risk, but
it's
still
better
was
than Risk. Yeah, it's better than Risk, and that's the only reason really it made my top 10. They put some new things into Risk that made it better than just rolling dice and moving your dudes around on a board. Gave you objectives. It gave you regional objectives to go for. Gave you a lot of good things to do that made Risk a lot better.
Okay.
And a lot of the stuff that they put into this, they actually not really. I guess some of the ideas made it into Risk Legacy as well.
Maybe, but I did
So-
write this one down as something to talk about because it was such a brilliant marketing move.
Yeah.
Sending out all the reviewers, here's a copy no one else will ever have ever. And the reviewers are like, this is amazing. It's better than Risk. Well, no kidding.
My number 10, Risk Black Ops.
My number 10 will, excuse me, will show up, I'm sure, a little later in someone else's list, but it only squeaks into my number 10 spot. It's still a game that I think is a formidable design, and that is Dominion. Dominion was the first deck building game. It began a genre.
He's not talking about me. It's not going to be on my list.
I know. I think it's on Tom's list.
It's top 3, probably.
Top, yeah. Anyway, Dominion is a very popular game still. It has a bajillion expansions.
They were done, but then they weren't.
Translation, bloated.
Yeah, that's very likely. But it did do something that nothing else had done, really, or at least sort of popularized something that nothing else had done. I still say that other games basically did deck building before this game, just didn't call it a thing yet. So,
Ish. I get that, but yeah, Dominion was the first game I said, hey, this is deck building, because that was the whole game.
yes, right. So that's my number 10, very popular game, Dominion.
Number 9.
My number 9 is a game that has recently been republished with a different theme, a pizza theme. And this one is called Piece O' Cake. It's by Jeffrey Allers, and it is basically, it has a really simple I split you choose mechanism where you're trying to collect different pieces of cake, or it might even be say it's pie,
Yeah.
right? But it's
Whatever,
called
pie
piece of
cake.
cake. Pie cake, the
'Cause
delicious
piece of
circular
pie is not a thing.
dessert things. Well, it actually was. I can't remember the name of the movie, but
That's like an expression, piece of
Eddie
pie.
Murphy's character. I think it was Eddie Murphy's character. No, not Eddie Murphy. It was I don't know. But that's what they said. They were misquoting English. You know, instead of saying, "Oh, it's a piece of cake," they would say, "It's a piece of pie." So it is actually a thing. It's just really under the radar. You brought that up, though.
Holy rabbit hole, Batman.
So anyway,
What's that? I'm super confused.
no, it was a movie from way I can't remember. It was an '80s movie
Just-
somewhere.
I'm
I don't
sorry.
know, I'm sorry. But anyway, piece of cake. Back to the back to the game. It's really fun. It looks really good on the table. I actually like it a little bit more than the pizza game, but they're really the same thing. It's just
There's minor differences,
Yeah.
but
Do you
yeah.
do you want to play a game about pizza, or do you want to play a game about desserts? That's really what it boils down
I think
to.
the pizza game, New York Slice, right,
Yeah.
is a better design because it's got, almost 10 years worth of experience to add to from the designer. So there's more to it. I just think it's considerably less attractive. I just don't like
The
the way
pizza?
it looks. Yeah, the pizza
Yeah.
one. So I've actually still got Piece of Cake, even though I know the other game is a better design. I think it's a better design, but I just don't like the way it looks.
Yeah, gotcha. But that's my number 9, Piece of Cake.
That's
All
a
right,
good one.
cool.
Me? My number 9 is a game from Matago, and this is a game called Nefertiti. Nefertiti is a game that I don't think was ever that popular. I'm not even sure if it's still in print, to be honest, but Madigo always had fantastic production values.
I was trying to place one. This is one you're giving gifts.
Yes, you're getting gifts or procuring goods to give to Nefertiti, or like give them to the would-be husband. I forget how that works.
So what I'm getting is that the theme is really important here.
No.
Super important.
But it is a very cool
It's a
sort
Christmas game.
It's a very cool bidding style game. It's one that has a few different markets on the board, and each one you place your workers into, your bids into, and they each close, meaning you go ahead and score in very different ways. I don't know if you remember how that works. So one of them sort of like tic-tac-toe. You place a bid on something, and as soon as like there's a line or a column filled with workers, boom, we score it, and you get some gifts.
It's been so long since
It's
I played
got
it.
a lot of
10
clever.
years.
I like that it's a bidding game where you're not doing one kind of bidding. It's not once around, or it's not just regular old, till everyone passes bidding. It's a lot of different kinds of bidding, and in fact, one of those markets closes, you slide it over or flip it over, and there's another kind. So I really like that aspect of it. And it's a short game. It's like 45 minutes. It's very attractive, like I said. I like it a lot. It's one that, again, has not, I think, stood the test of time necessarily, but I really enjoy it. That is one of my favorite bidding games just because of the variety that it has. Nefertiti, my number 9.
In 2008, Eagle and Griffin games were combining, and some games were Eagle and some games were Griffin. It was very confusing. They eventually changed the name to Eagle Griffin, but they had that small line of games. For Sale and many other games were in that line. And then not a new designer, but a newish designer who went on to be 2008 was his best year ever, made a game called Roll Through the Ages, which felt different than the other games because it was like 5 times as heavy as all the rest. The box was full.
Filled with wood, yeah.
And was one of the first games in a very long line of games that was going to take Yahtzee and run with it for a long time.
Big out of genre, you could say.
Yes.
It was a new genre.
Well, I think there were other games that did the Yahtzee thing before Roll Through the
Like what?
Ages.
Mention 5.
Also, this is back 10 years ago. It was a roll and write game. Back before they were super popular now, right?
Ooh.
That's 2 genres.
He began 2 genres with a single stroke.
So apparently, in order to begin a genre, you just simply have to start calling it something.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Well, anyhow, but the game itself is fantastic. It's a small little game where you roll and you fill in
Right.
monuments, you get technologies. It's not really it doesn't feel like a civilization building game, but it does bring the theme into it. In fact, I think it's so streamlined that they made a re-update of it, Roll Through the Ages, the Iron Age, came out a few years ago where Tom Lemon came in and changed a bunch of things. And it was clearly, in my opinion, inferior to the original game.
There's a lot more to it. They kind of, Tom Lehman sort of grew it up, added a bunch of things to it, but the playing both, I think you realize that the simplicity in the Bronze Age versus the Iron Age is a big part of the charm.
Well, I really liked it, and I'm sure it's not the only time you'll hear about it today. Roll Through the Ages, my number 9.
I think it is.
Number 8.
My number 8 is another game from Rio Grande, who I think had a fantastic year this year. Dominion was from them, by the way. The other one is a much less known game called The Hanging Gardens. And the Hanging Gardens it began the tile laying but on cards genre.
So this is going to be the bell we're going to clang every single time, huh? All
That's
right.
a genre that,
Fine.
they make 100 games in that one.
Yeah, it's not.
Bring out your dead.
No, there was a recent game. I forget what it was that everybody was going crazy about. What was it? The trick-taking one, but then you take the cards and put out a little city. I cannot recall what it's called now, but every time I played that one.
Oh, the one that just came out like a couple years ago.
Yeah. Everybody was losing their minds over the game, and I played and I was like, yeah, Hanging Gardens did it better like 10 years
Hanging
ago.
Gardens was way simple.
It was a very clean design. It's a very bright design. There's no... It's not... See, some games start to get complicated when you start saying, okay, you can lay cards on top of cards, and they have a grid with, parks and whatever, lakes and
Samurai
stuff.
Garden. Maybe you're talking about.
No,
Samurai
I'm talking about
Garden.
one that came out before that one that was really took off. Honshu, thank you. Honshu is the one I am thinking of. If you typed it in the comments already, admit. And I liked Hanging Gardens because there was none of this. Oh, you have to like sometimes lift a card and tuck it under. No, it was just sensical. You just built up the gardens and you grabbed some tiles, scored. It was clean. I love it. I actually played this year again, and I still like the game. Just a super smooth design. So.
Also works really well with 2 players.
Oh, it's a fantastic two-player game. Yeah, I'm surprised that this game never got a reprint.
For a while, this was in my wife's top 10.
Yeah.
She really liked it.
Such a good design. So yeah, my number 8, The Hanging Gardens.
All right, my number 8 is most definitely higher on other people's lists. But I talked about Matt Leacock having a great year, so number 8 is Pandemic. Now, I like Pandemic a lot. I just think there was a lot of other great games this year, but there's no denying that Pandemic is the single game responsible for where cooperative games are today. Not even a question about it. I mean, yes, Lord of the Rings came out earlier.
I wonder if they would have had the idea had Lord of the Rings not come out.
Well, no, I'm not saying that.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm saying...
You're saying it's the single game that took the co-op genre to where it is now.
For sure, yes.
And I'm saying it might not have even been made had another cooperative game not been made first.
Well, technically, also, Shadows over Camelot came out earlier than this one, too. But Pandemic took it to the mainstream. Everybody was playing Pandemic. There was 2 mega blockbuster games that came out in 2018. One was Dominion, which you already mentioned, and the other was Pandemic. There's very few years that have 2 games that... And the thing about 2008, which is interesting, is when Pandemic came out, it was popular, but I don't feel like it was the game of the year. It was Dominion. Everyone was Dominion, Dominion, Dominion. But Pandemic has grown and grown and grown and grown.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still... People are playing and having fun with it today.
I remember
Dominion, that is not necessarily the same case with.
I remember being very excited about Pandemic before it came out. I knew it was coming. I read up on it coming out, and I bought it pretty much, I think, when it was available. Like the first week it was available at a local game store. Went in and bought the game. But I don't remember there being a fervor about it.
No, I'm saying it started kind of...
Well, that's what I mean. It was not that sort of like...
It wasn't like
Pandemic.
Dominion. Dominion people were like, where's Dominion?
Yeah, Dominion was insane before it showed up.
Yeah. So anyway, my number 8, Pandemic.
It's an okay game.
My number 8 is Hanging Gardens.
What? Oh, dude!
Yep.
I was not expecting a crossover on that one at all.
Yep.
Actually, that was in my top 20. I really like it, yeah.
It is a great game, and for everything, I loved the card tile laying aspect of it. I loved how it was kind of, I don't know, it was just very picturesque, and we really enjoyed that tile laying aspect of it that was Carcassonne-ish, but not really.
You like tile laying a lot,
Yeah,
though.
I do. I like building different kinds of pictures that way. So for everything Z said, absolutely my number 8, The Hanging Gardens.
Cool.
Nice.
Number 7.
My number 7 is a racing game. I think this year co-op games had a good year, and racing games I think had a good year. And this is one of 2 you'll see show up on my list. Power Boats. Power Boats from Kawali is a very unique racing game, I think. It's one that is able to both, in my opinion, it's able to both simulate momentum, which a lot of racing games have a hard time doing, without bogging down in simulation. There are some games out there that really can replicate that idea of having to slow down, having to take a corner, that sort of thing, in a true fashion. Again, it's all an abstraction, but in a fairly true fashion. But they're very slow and ponderous. They just sort of barely move along. Power Boats is really cool. It has these 3-sided dice. They're so neat. You pick them up, you can add one or remove one, and then re-roll them. And it's you can only grow your pool or shrink your pool by so much. And though the randomizer is there, again, the dice are only 3-sided. So you can barrel down a straight way. You have to go around a buoy. But if you're really booking it, you're going to have a hard time not overshooting that buoy by quite a bit and losing ground. I think that I like the way it looks. The components, were not fantastic. They were pretty good, but not fantastic. Kawali's a small company. And but just the way it felt, it did not feel like other racing games to me. and the setting was different. The manipulation of what was going on was different. I really enjoy power boats. I still do. I still own it. So my number 7, power boats. I don't know if you guys have ever played this.
No, did they just
Have
reprint
not.
it as a different theme?
They sort of put out it's sort of 2.0 in space, and I forget what it's called, but it's the same thing, but you're racing in space. It doesn't make as much sense.
Power ships.
Power ships,
No, I
I think
don't know.
it
I'm
is.
just making that up.
I think that is it, actually.
Oh, I was just making a joke.
It's something like that.
All right.
All right, my number 7 is a game. It's the.
Well, good.
It's the definitely the heaviest game on my list. I think.
Bag of bricks.
Bricks.
Box of rocks.
Box of Rocks is the sequel.
No, there aren't any bricks in this one. There are bricks in one of its family of games. Anyway, this is Le Havre. Le Havre is my game. What? You
Well,
weren't
no.
expecting
I
that
mean,
one?
I think it's a great game. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
surprised it's on your list.
I think it might be on Tom's list, too.
It probably is. But Le Havre is really the heaviest game from that family of games. You know, there's Le Havre, there's, I call them same family, the Agricola.
Oh, sure. No,
all
there's no
those-
question they're in the same
Yeah.
family.
This is the
It's a
only
genre.
one. This is the only one. I mean, I enjoy Caverna, but I don't think Caverna is nearly as heavy as this one is. What?
Sorry, I'm being a jerk. Never mind. Keep going.
He said it's a genre, and then we looked at each other like,
Yeah,
genre.
right. Whatever. You idiot.
It's a genre.
So what does Le Havre stand for, Z?
It's the harbor.
Yeah, okay, thanks. See, I
By the
dug
way,
that back
folks,
up.
public service announcement. Just for a second.
Go ahead.
I'm aware that Le Havre is a place that is named that because I have a massive map on my wall that has it right there on the wall.
Also,
Please stop emailing me. That Le Havre means the harbor, but you can't call the game that because it's actually that place. Like saying, Puerto Rico should be Rich Port. I get it, but stop. My public service announcement kind of fell apart at the end there, but
All right.
it's just
Please, guys,
Can
I'm
we
sorry.
ixnay on the genre thing now then?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
right.
Appreciate it. Anyway, Le Havre is a game, and I think the reason I like this one better over its other people in that other games in that is for the theme. Is that it's a fishing, it's a harbor theme, and I think I like that better than some farming or agricultural theme.
Yeah.
So that's really what it boils down to. It's not any lighter weight than those other games, I don't think. I just liked the theme better in this one, and I enjoyed it a little bit more. So I enjoyed it a lot. Number 7, Le Havre.
Well, they already mentioned Matago with Nefertiti. I think this year was the year that I noticed that Matago existed as a company because they've started doing the Days of Wonder thing and bringing in games with great components. Incidentally, this was the year Days of Wonder released Ticket to Ride, the card game, which is best left forgotten. But anyway, this is Giants. I really like Giants. In fact, they showed us like the prototype for the sequel. They're making a nicer, simpler version of Giants.
Really?
That was supposed to come out last year, maybe this year, next year, I don't know.
10th
But-
anniversary edition.
yeah, maybe. So
Might as
Giants,
well now.
Right. Giants is a game about Easter Island, which is one of at least 5 or 6 games about that theme.
It all came out around the same window,
They
too.
really did. There must have been something in the newspaper. When you were setting up you build these stone statues and you need to roll them on logs so there's spots on the island. And so there's a lot of, it's very Euro-y. It's a pick up and delivery, get this, try to get it to the best spots, get the most points. But the components were like, what is this? Every player's pieces, which were just workers, were different molds, which blew my mind. Because, I mean, now I'm like,
They didn't have to, but they did, yes.
right, and the little logs and the statues. It's a thinkier game, and I like it, but the component quality elevated it to something I was like, wow, this is really amazing. And this is before they did Cyclades and Kemet and all that stuff. But whew, I like this game. Giants.
That's a good one.
Number 6.
All right, my number 6 is one of the only ways that I will play this game. It is in the Catan family of games. And this is really my favorite, I think, version of it. I'd like another version, the Starfarers of Catan. I like that one. But as far as simplicity is concerned and ease of getting it to the table and teaching it and all that kind of stuff, Catan Geographies Germany.
That's 10 years old now, huh?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it is. And one of the things that I liked about it is the fact of, it sounds strange, but how much research they actually put into how they constructed the board, and the different regions were all historically accurate, I guess you could say, for what that region had produced in Germany over the years. It also came with an almanac, which was really interesting to me, that had historical information and background on all of the different buildings, thank you, that you are building throughout the course of the game. All of the different, building is not the right word.
Edifices.
No.
Giant works of art. Historical monuments.
Thank you, monuments. That's what I was looking for, monuments.
I'm a thesaurus today, baby.
So anyway, I really enjoyed it. It has a lot of pseudo-nostalgic value, because I used to live in Germany, and I've actually been to a lot of these different places that you're building. So that's also working with it, but it's the only way I'll play Catan more often than not. And that's my number 6, Catan Geographies Germany.
Cool. I like its very pretty version. My number 6 is a game that most people don't play today, but an expansion came out for this like last year, and that is Jet Set. Jet Set from Watsopalag
Wow.
is easily the best game that company's come out with. Most of their games are extremely light. I mean, they made one, if you remember, they made one game with like little beer.
Oh, I thought that game was great, but yes, it's very light.
The beer one?
Yeah, where you're snatching up bottles, trying to complete.
But it cracks me up because it looks like they belong in a kid's toy kitchen.
Yes.
Except it's beer and wine across the board. But anyway, most of the games
kid's toy kitchen
are really light like that. Well, that's what I'm saying. But that's what it looked like. The kids are like, can we play with that? No. But Jet Set is a game that, this was on the heels of Ticket to Ride-ish.
Yes.
And so it looked a little Ticket to Ride-ish. It was airplanes, but it's much... It's heavier.
It's mathier for sure.
It's mathier for sure. You're trying to connect different routes, but you have to pay to put planes out in different areas, and there can be multiple people that are connecting them. The expansion really adds to this game, but even before the expansion, I really like this one. This is one that you can still get because he always has it at conventions. He must have printed a gazillion of them.
Yeah, I don't know, but yes, they're available.
I really like this one. If you like Ticket to Ride, but you want a more involved style, I'm not even sure Ticket to Ride's the best.
That's what I used to think of also, because the game is old enough that was it. That was what you
but I
compared
mean,
it to.
it's a guy.
If you like connection games and you're looking for one that's, lesser known, but it's still crunchy, kind of mathy, not really pretty, but if you don't care about that, you probably like math games anyway. Just check it out.
Thanks, Z. That's my number 6.
A whole bunch of people
Jet
right
Set.
there.
What are you talking about? I'm trying to help. I'm making suggestions for our viewers.
You back on my
number 6 is a game. If you want a game that is also mathy but attractive, maybe I shouldn't say that, because people don't tend to like this company's look. This is from Astari, and it's a game called Scylla, which I wrote there on the board.
You're saying a game is beautiful, and you picked
Sylla.
You picked this game.
But again, it's written on the screen, so I figured I wouldn't spell it.
This game doesn't look that fantastic.
No, it doesn't. Astari never got a lot of love for the way they're not just their illustrations, but their graphic design.
It's okay. It's not bad.
Turned some people off. So anyway, Scylla though is it's one of the heavier games they put out, I think.
Takes 32 minutes.
No. It's like a mid-weight Euro, maybe slightly above that. There's a lot of phases. There's a lot to manage. You have workers that you can use for one of those many phases, but if you turn the card sideways to do something, say buy a building, you then can no longer use that worker or that character for any of the following phases. And so you have to manage that. There's quite a bit going on. The game feels, which I thought Astari was pretty good at, it felt like it packaged tons of things into a tight frame. And Astari is one game that for some reason nobody remembers or plays.
Astari's the company, but
Scylla.
yes.
I'm sorry, Scylla, that nobody remembers or plays, but was a really strong design from Dominic Gerhardt.
Almost none of their games are still played today.
That's true. Astari is sort of a company that came and went, right?
I'm trying to think the most popular game they probably did was
Kalis.
East Behind. Oh,
It's still
Kalis. You're right.
But Ispahan was nominated for a Spiel.
Right, those are the two biggest ones, but the rest just all went by the wayside. I
That's
liked
true.
East. I liked a lot of their games.
I
but
did too. Mikarinos was a great game, or is a great game. But anyway, Scylla is a fantastic Euro game, a little heavier than some of those other ones, but just very enjoyable and actually very thematic for a Euro game. It manages to put you there. So that's my number 6.
Number 5.
My number 5 is the game that put the abstract genre on the map. No, I can't even say that. Okay, but
You're upsetting the beast.
now number 5 is the game that put Burley games on the map because I only ever played they only made like 4
Yeah,
games.
this was
And that's Kamisato.
that was very
I like Kamisato.
near the top of the list for me, but didn't quite make it.
One thing I like about abstract games is, are they simple to figure out? And Kamisato is definitely there. Now, Kamisato does have an alternate set of rules that are technically the official rules of the game, which are ridiculously long. Where you
With the
play
whole,
a game
you crown
and sumo
the
it and all that
sumo,
nonsense.
yeah, that's it. No.
Forget all that nonsense. Just play the base game. And it is super fun. You can move your pieces as far as you want, and whatever color you land on, that's the piece your opponent moves. It has a pretty cool look to it. Some versions look better than others.
Yeah, it toes the line between elegant and garish, for sure.
Yeah, I kind of like garish sometimes, though.
Yeah, no kidding.
They did make a nice little black and white version.
With what, shades of gray for the different colors?
I think the colors were on the top, like in the crown. I think you would have liked that one better.
Okay.
But I really like this game. It's still one that I'll play. Not this last session, but the one before that. He roped me into playing a game against him. He beat me. Then I beat him. Then I left before we could see who.
Well, it sounded like he beat you at the game and then you beat him physically.
It's not.
Didn't it sound like that when he said it? Maybe I'm reading into it, but he basically went, he beat me,
I
then
feel
I
like you're
beat
reading into
him,
it
and
a
I
little bit.
walked out. Like, whoa, it was just a game.
He's like, no, okay.
kidding.
Anyway,
I'm
he's a really
joking.
nice guy, but he sits there just smiling as he crushes your pieces.
Oh, well, I'm sure he's an animal at that game, of course.
Anyway, I really like it. Kamisato.
That's a good one. All right, that's me. My number 5 is a party game that was extremely popular this year and still is. Billion expansions as well. This is Dixit.
For sure.
Dixit is, Dixit felt anyway like one of the first games that took stuff we were used to doing, like drawing, acting, charades, all of this kind of stuff, and made a party game that didn't quite feel the same. I remember anyway when it came out thinking, this is an odd bird. You know what I mean?
Well, what it did is it started this new thing where this nebulous. I mean, Mysterium and other games do this
Sure,
now
sure.
too, where it's like, here's the card. What does that mean? It could mean whatever you want it to mean.
Yeah.
It's a genre.
It's less It's less about being nebulous though, because there's not that many games that that you said basically both of them. It's more about this thread the needle feeling, in which you need to give enough, but not too much. You got to just thread the needle correctly.
Sure. Although incidentally,
think
it's not
that
the first
is-
game to do that. R&R put out a word game.
Yeah.
I think it's Whatchamacallit or something like that, or Thingamajig, where you had to do the same thing. You had to get some people to guess the word, but not all of them. But it was just words. This game did the same thing, but used those beautiful paintings. And
And
I
it
think the
worked.
paintings elevate it.
Yeah, and it worked. It's a game that is definitely not for everybody, and it is kind of an odd bird. It's not a party game that everyone's going to like or even understand necessarily, but I think it's a great design. And all it needs is more illustrations, and boy, did they give us more illustrations. There are quite a few expansions for this, but I still enjoy it. I think it's a good one that goes over well with non-gamers, in my opinion. So that's my number 5, Dixit.
My number 5 is a game that is built around the idea of making sushi. And you have a little blind, and you have menus in here of the different, or recipes rather, of the different things that you're trying to make. Those are going to score you points, and then you have to manipulate.
He's
Sorry.
allergic to
He's
Continue.
allergic to sushi.
You all
apparently,
right
yeah.
over there, Wasabi?
I'm just thinking about sushi. Sorry.
Wasabi is the name of the game that I am talking about now, my number 5. And I like the board manipulation. It also has some tile laying aspects to it as well.
Yes.
And there's a lot of neat things. You have the different special cards that allow you to break the rules if you take them and that type of thing. So I like everything about it. I like the way the game looks. It's very colorful. It's very vibrant. And I like tile laying and then manipulating those tiles as well, because you can lay things on top of it. You can say, hey, oh, you spilled some wasabi on this part, so you can't actually use that part of the board now. And there's just a lot of things going on that I really enjoyed it, and it's still on my shelf today.
That
So
wouldn't
that's
stop
my number
me.
5.
I like wasabi.
You're not gonna.
I don't like that. Don't do that.
I don't think I've ever done. I realized I was there like that's
Yeah,
a
wasabi,
bad.
Yeah, that would be horrible, man. You'd have
Wasabi,
it
I think
all
I'd
over your
reprinted
face.
as sushi at one point, but anyway, wasabi is the one I knew also.
Yeah,
It was neat that the tile laying, you didn't lay them and then forgot them.
yeah.
Then you were looking for combinations and
Correct.
stuff. It did not feel like another Carcassonne, yeah.
Correct.
This was also the first, I think, published design by Josh Capel.
Yeah, this put Josh Capel on the map for me anyway, but yeah.
And I mean, with his artwork, and he
gorgeous
does a lot of stuff.
Gorgeous
yeah.
game, yeah.
Cool.
Number 4.
All right, so another crossover. Z just mentioned this game, my number 4, Dixit.
Yes, sir.
This one, I was just looking to get Melody a copy of Dixit, and I was like, wow, there's so many expansions available for this game. There's a ton of them out there, to the point where right now my Dixit game is missing. I'm pretty sure it's that cool stuff somewhere, because we took it to that homeschool convention.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I can't just easily replace it because it has every single expansion in it. And I really like, then some of those expansions are probably like Odyssey, I don't think we'll see again. Some of those, there was the one that went up to 8 players. That one is
I
probably
don't know what's
gone.
what anymore. I've told you this before, but I was getting those games before they were naming the expansions. It was just Dixit, and then eventually they came out with like a Dixit expansion, but then they started naming them. Dixit Odyssey,
Yeah, but you forget
Dixit
which one. You're like,
Dreams,
oh,
and
do I have that one?
I'm like, I don't know what I have anymore,
But I like this game. It's one of the few party games that I found that the snooty gamers will deign to play. They'll be like, oh, well, this party game's okay. I'm like, all right, whatever, it's fun. I don't care. But I think part of it is because you can do some very cool intellectual clues. Like, I'm going to say this clue that only like 2 of us know. Ha ha ha. And people like that idea if you can
Yes.
pull that off.
If you can feel smarter than other people at the table, people do enjoy that.
They do.
I know.
Let's not
that was
argue
not a
that.
joke.
Dixit, my number 4.
Is it my turn?
Yep.
All right, my turn is a game about making swords, and this one came out from Mayfair,
Oh, wow.
Toledo.
Wow, this one even made my top 40. I think it's an okay game.
I don't know why, but
You like this genre, though, of making swords.
I don't know if that's an actual genre.
There's at least 2 games.
Are we
Oh,
stopping?
and now it's a genre because it's got 2 games
Sorry.
in it.
Actually, this time I didn't mean it was. I wasn't even making a joke.
say.
there.
Theme.
You like the theme of making swords.
Yeah, I do like the theme of making swords. Toledo is a neat little game where you're actually the course of the board goes up through the town of Toledo and it leads up to the palace that's up at the top of the hill.
Sounds like Kalis.
No,
It
it's
does
not.
look like chaos a little bit.
Oh, no, the board doesn't look anything like Kalis's board. But I enjoy the sword crafting theme. You're collecting all of the different resources that you need to build the sword, and you're trying to score the most points. The highest point scored, the highest point sword at the end of the game. And so you're presenting it to the king, and I just enjoyed the game a lot.
I like
So,
that theme, yeah.
Yeah, I do. So it's,
Interestingly enough, I don't know how you can get this because it used to be at the Mayfair booth for
Yes.
like $5.
yep,
For
that's
like
where I got
years
my
and years
copy
and
of
years.
it.
And now that booth's gone, so I don't know where you get it.
Yeah.
What happened to all those like old Mayfair games
I
that
don't
were
want
like
to think
unloaded?
about that, I think. What did happen to all those games that were there?
Huh?
Salvation Army?
Salvation Army. Wow.
Is that true?
Wow.
Really? Wow. Okay.
I don't know. The Mayfair. Maybe it wasn't a Mayfair booth, but I seem to recall there was definitely a Catan booth. Now I know that's not Mayfair anymore, but I don't know if they still
Yeah,
have
but they
any
had
of
all
those games.
those old games. Now that guy who sells in the middle of Gen Con, the guy's like, 6 games for 25 cents.
Yeah, 25 cents. Wow. Well, that's my number 4, Toledo. You can get it for $0.25.
Oh my goodness. All right, my number 4 is from Cosmos. But again, it was very little known. It did not make much of a splash. However, this is also a co-op game, Witch of Salem. And Witch of Salem...
That was going to be on your list. Are you going to mention the caveat about the game, too?
Oh, no. No one's going to get this game anyway. Who cares
You're
about
right.
that? You know what I mean?
I can get Witch of Salem or Arkham Horror in one of the many spin-offs.
That's true, but I was always... That was one of the things that attracted me to Witch of Salem in the first place. Yeah, at this point I had played Arkham Horror, and I did not like it. It was a game that had a cool genre. I liked all the Cthulhu stuff, and it was involving, but it also took 3+ hours to
Yeah, but now you
sit
got
down.
Arkham Horror, the card game.
Oh, sure, that's shorter, and it's actually, I think, even more engrossing. But anyway, at that point, I was also a little bit more of a Euro gamer through and through. I kind of tended to stick with those. And when this was announced, I thought, oh my goodness, this is my version of Arkham Horror. This is Cthulhu, co-op, all of that stuff, but mechanically clean. I mean, there is not a lot of moving parts in this game. And that's what I got, which is why I liked it so much, or why I still like it so much. I think it's extremely tense. It is not thematic. I mean, not really. It is a Euro game, but the tension is still there, and the threat, and the having to work together, having to manipulate what's going on. I still very much enjoy this game.
Don't talk to each other, though.
The threat.
Just don't bother. 'Cause that was just a whole waste of
Whoa.
That was just a whole waste of your time. You're never going to play this game, so.
Yeah, I'm not even going to bring that up. There was a small rules adjustment I'm not going to tell you because, you'll never find it.
Just talk to each other.
Talk to one another. All right, that's my number 4, Witch of Salem.
Number 3.
All right, my number 3 is going to be his number 1, and that is Pandemic.
I am honestly sick and tired of all these assumptions and accusations.
They're not assumptions
What
if they are
accent
correct.
was that there? You got all like old-timey 1920s newspaper?
My mouth went goofy.
Jimmy Stewart?
Anyway, this is a great game, and it is a fun cooperative game. Probably one of the only cooperative games that I really enjoyed from this year. And that's probably why I don't view this year as a cooperatively heavy game year, because some of the ones that are out there, like Ghost Story, is probably going to be your number 2, might even be your top 3.
Well,
It's just too hard. They're too difficult. And I'm not saying that Pandemic is not difficult, but it's more fun than the other cooperative games that are out there.
I think Pandemic by itself was that strong of a game.
No,
I'm not
sure,
saying that the other cooperative
can see
games that
that.
came out this year, because there wasn't
I will
many.
say that I like Pandemic Legacy better than the base game for its story-driven nature, but I still enjoy, I wouldn't enjoy Pandemic Legacy if I didn't already enjoy Pandemic. I don't think that's a possibility.
Or you maybe wouldn't enjoy it as much because you know
right.
where you're coming from. Yeah.
So, cannot not mention this one. It's definitely one of my favorite games. So my number 3, Pandemic.
Is it me?
Cheers.
Well, you guys seem to know what my top games are. What do you think my number 3 might be then?
I'll go with Roll Through the Ages.
No, that might be in the teens, maybe. Maybe even 20s, perhaps. I do like it, and I kept it for a long time, but I no longer own it. I said it was a strong year for racing games.
Android.
And I mentioned Powerboats. There was another racing game I liked even better this year.
Well, I don't think you can say
think you
Formula
like
D,
Formula
because
D.
Formula D didn't technically come out in 2008. It was just a reprint of it.
That's right. But Snowtails did come out in 2008.
I should have known that. You're right.
Snowtails is another game that I thought took racing and did something slightly different with it, just like Powerboats did before it. And that is the idea of taking away dice, taking away any of that stuff, and implementing this idea of the sled that you are on and is being pulled by your dogs, having the ability to have it drift from side to side by having the dogs pull at different strengths. It's a fairly mechanical thing when you think about it, right? Mm-hmm. But If you can wrap your head around that concept, the implementation is fantastic. You play cards to one side or the other of the sled or to the break, and then it will move down the ice track in whatever way you're trying to manipulate this. And same thing, you're trying to avoid corners, going into them too fast. You've even got, they had this expansion tower, you had to leap, so you had to hit the lip of that tile at a specific speed or you would crash. I thought that was always funny. There were trees in your way. It was just a really neat game. Asmodee reprinted this before they were Asmodee. They reprinted this. And I really enjoyed that version. I thought it was well made, and the game was just.
This was back when Asmodee was like a small.
Asmodee was just Asmodee. I mean, it was not, the empire that it is now. But I really like the game, and I think it's one that's very innovative. So that is my number 3, Snow Tales.
Well, my number 3, Z called way back in a time. It was Dominion. Yes, and again, Dominion was the monster hit that came out this year. Pandemic has had longer legs for sure. But Dominion, when it came out, that's all anyone talked about, to the point where Sam drove Sam nuts because we played it like to death in our game group.
Every single.
Although I would like to
week.
point out, you said there's no way you can leave Pandemic off the list. I would say there's no way you can leave Dominion off the list.
Oh, believe me, there is a way because I found it.
I think the problem is, you said that you think Pandemic has more legs. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think Pandemic has had spin-offs. How many spin-offs did Dominion have?
No, they just keep coming out with expansions.
Right, so none. That's the problem. How come there was never a Dominion set in space? Or a Dominion set under sea?
I don't know.
Because they never did it.
Yeah.
Because they kept just...
It could definitely happen because the theme
It wasn't there. It didn't matter, right?
Yeah, it was non-existent.
Sure. Well, that's the thing, though, but I think a lot of other people took it. Here's the deal, though, and you said it's bloated. I won't argue that. The latest, I'm going to play the new expansion because I'm going to play the new expansion when it comes out, but I don't care about it at all. It's just more stuff, and there already is a ton. I mean, it certainly hit its stride. With the next year, they came out with Intrigue. Then after that, they came out with Seaside and then Prosperity. And I was like, what? And then that was that. Kind of just went down. But there was still a ton of it, and I play a lot of deck builders still, and deck building is not the giant it was in 2008 to 2012. It was really big there.
Yes.
But it's still, Dominion is probably the cleanest one. The only one I've come close to that's as clean as Dominion would probably be Space Realms. Space Realms has that real clean feeling. Play. You just
Star Realms?
Star Realms. Sorry,
Got it.
Star Realms.
I thought you were saying Space Rums. I was like, Space Rums?
That's
Yeah.
a pirate game.
Arr!
Play a card, drink.
Arr, it's getting away! It's in space.
Yeah.
It floats.
Anyhow, no, but Star Realms, I think, has that very clean feel, which is why it was really popular. Dominion, those are the only two I can think of that are that clean. I
Dale
love
of Merchants
Thunderstone.
for me.
Dale Merchant still has a kind of some weird aspects to it. Dominion was bye, put the cards,
What about
wipe.
that new one from
Bye. Is that what you just said?
Bye.
Bye, birdie. Anyway.
There's another one
say.
that just came out that said replace Star Realms for you.
Oh, sure, but I mean, they're
just
so
as clean.
similar. Well, no, I agree on that. But that one needs to have some expansions come out soon. Or
Right.
That's the thing about deck building games. Usually they need them.
Well, Dominion,
But Dominion sort of said, "Oh, you want more? Hold up."
sure. I think I don't need to drink out of the fire hose either. I mean,
Yeah.
there comes a point where I'm like, I'm pretty happy. Like, I have so many combinations of Dominion now.
Yes.
But I'm going to keep it. Great game. My number 3, Dominion.
Number 2.
All right, my number 2, my predictable number 2, I should say.
Ghost Stories.
Ghost Stories.
Is also my number 2. Might as well just do them together at the
Okay,
same time.
fantastic. Ghost Stories, I think if you are a good game player,
Here it goes. Go ahead. Go ahead. It's not that hard if you're a good
it's still really hard.
That's what I thought.
You know what, though? It is one of those games, I think, that you can learn to get better at, for sure.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I've learned, and I've been told by many people that you should be not just rolling dice and hoping for the best, which is how I play it a lot.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's a co-op game that I find to be one of the most involved. It's certainly challenging, yeah. But I love the look of it. That artwork is great. I like that it marries. This is how I felt about it originally. That it married a lot of sort of very mechanical mechanisms. this whole like lanes and advancement. It just seemed really Euro. But then on top of that, you had all this dice rolling and all this sort of, gathering things and manipulation of like, and the mysticism and all of that. That actually elevated that game for me with that theme, and just gave me a game that every time I played it was tense and engaging. And I found myself constantly at moments of, just at these crossroads between, okay, I know I need to do this or I will lose, but I could do it in 2 turns or 1 turn and prep for the future over here. It's just so many of those great decisions,
Yeah, I was not arguing earlier that this is the game that changed co-op. I don't think it is. I think Pandemic did. This is just my personal favorite. This is one that had a couple of expansions and an excellent one, White Moon, and an okay one, The Black Secrets.
Yes.
And I doubt we'll see a reprint of this one anytime soon. I think The Reckoners, for me, has kind of been a modern-day replacement for it. It's that same kind of feeling. But yeah, this overwhelming, crushing despair. But normally that bugs me a lot. But when you beat it, the feeling is euphoric. It really is.
If you beat it.
Yeah, but I've beaten it at least 5+ times now.
5 times in 10 years. Wow! So fun! That's my whole thing about this game.
It's too hard.
I wanted to like it for everything that you said about the theme, how the artwork, how well it looks on the board, and how everything it looks great. But when you're playing it, it's like, it reminds me of like a basketball camp where there's an NBA player and there's this, this little kid who is going to try his best to get the ball into the hoop, and he's juking this way and he's juking that way and he's doing everything right. He did the dribbling just right, and then he comes and tries to lay it up and the guy just goes, "No!"
What a juke.
Okay.
I mean, that's what the game feels like to
but
me.
that little kid has no chance. I know I can beat the things.
It doesn't
Because you're tall.
feel like it though. It doesn't feel like it. So that's what
Just keeping it going.
That's just what it feels. It's just like, I don't know. I don't
think
like
no
games
chance,
that just
though.
kind of just go, "Hey, you think you're doing good? Great. Hey, how you doing? Oh yeah, there you go."
I think the no chance is an illusion that might be heavy-handed illusion, and you have the right to think that, but I think it is an illusion.
No, I
I
get
think
it.
it's possible, though, that you can fall into a no-win situation. If the Black Widow comes out at the wrong time
I don't know.
and ties up your stuff,
Maybe.
Although I will say, when me and Melody played that one time with the internet, and I almost put the game away. It was like, we can't win. And then we did. That, to me, is really cool. Because there are some games where you can look at them and go, we can't win this. And you can't.
Or maybe
Pandemic would actually be one of those. There's some times where you're playing Pandemic, you're like, you know what? No.
you can also kind of like
Yeah, but if you
lost.
know you can't win, you are also about to end the game.
Sure,
And
it's
then,
about to
like, I
happen
mean,
in 2
you're
turns.
about 30 seconds out. You'll never know that far ahead of time that you cannot win. I like that.
But with Pandemic, I never felt going into the game, there's no way we're going to win. But I have felt like that
Play it
Because
on the hard
Pandemic, it's
level.
easier to, the thing about Pandemic is the easy setting is easier. Whereas Ghost Stories started on difficult and decided to give you 3 difficulty levels after that.
They're like, what's it called? It's like, they call it normal,
Difficult, nightmare.
and then hell.
Hell is the last one, I think, yes.
So, yeah.
Anyway,
All right.
so we have the same number 2 then.
We do. What's your number
Ghost
2?
Stories.
My number 2 is a much more family-friendly game, I think.
No hell setting.
No, absolutely not. But it is Stone Age, and
Oh, I thought that'd be your number 1 for sure.
no,
That's the one that's coming out with the 10th anniversary.
yeah, I knew that, and I
That's not your number
said
1.
It wasn't my number 1. That's correct.
Wow.
So, anyway, Stone Age is a dice rolling game at its core. You have to mitigate the dice, however, much like what you guys said with Ghost Stories,
Yes.
you can't just go into it and just hope to roll some dice and you're going to get the right thing. You can't do that. You do have to put a lot of thought and strategy behind where you go, how many people you send out to each location, choosing what location not to go to at that particular moment in time. There's a lot of ways, a lot of things that you have to think about in the dice rolling area in Stone Age. And I think that's where a lot of people mess up. They think, okay, I just roll some dice, I'll try to get what I want. You need to make sure you get what you want. And there are ways to do that. Will the dice mess you up sometimes? Sure, because that's what dice do. But more often than not, I think you can plan and strategize your way through the game and have a lot of fun with it. I do enjoy it a lot. My family has enjoyed it a lot as well. It is a great family weight worker placement game, and I really enjoy it, have enjoyed it a lot over the years, and that's my number 2.
This one has grown
Stone
on me a
Age.
lot. It was like my number 11 on this particular list. It was really close. I'm really looking forward to the new version. It's
I
got
did not realize that we're doing
Snow.
yeah, there's a
like a
double-sided
snow-
board, like a
snow
snow
theme on one
on
side.
one side. and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
really cool.
I did not. Who's printing this?
I think Z-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
so-
very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, that's dudes. Let's go to 1.
And finally, number 1.
Normally I got a yellow die. This matches my soul. What's up with this?
Why did somebody draw on these numbers?
To make them more legible.
It's white on a green
this was
background.
This was back when we had the dice out at my house. So.
Oh my goodness! Your kids
I-
defacing
Here we go.
property.
Here we go.
Oh, that was heavy.
17. Still 17, but this is 12.
I don't think that's how that works.
that doesn't
Wow!
work.
I still got 12.
Ugh.
Oh man!
Okay, well, it's still Tom.
Nothing
He was
happened.
highest 3 times, and I'm dead last. Okay.
All right. Well, we'll just go down the table.
I'm critical miss adjacent.
Okay, so my number 1 is La Havre.
Yes,
easy,
we know.
Easy choice, right? This is possibly not my favorite Rosenberg at this point in time, but
Ooh, somebody loves that spring harvest or winter moon or whatever.
no. But I still think this game is superbly fun. It's when I first got it, I was like, oh man, doesn't have all the cool wooden bits that Agricola had at this
Sure,
point in time.
sure.
It's like, oh, they're all tiles, woohoo. But again, the reason I like this is because my preferred style of playing these kind of Euro games is I'm getting cooler and cooler as the game goes by. I'm doing bigger and greater things. You like that nonsense where I'm starving, and I don't like that. That Notre Dame and the rats are in the kitchen. All right. I hate that nonsense.
Yeah,
Right?
actually, I pulled out in the Year of the Dragon the other day, and set it up, just messed with it for a bit. And I was like, I think Notre Dame does this job well enough. I think I'm going to let that one go, actually.
Yeah. Well, I
Because
don't-
it's like he basically did Notre Dame or Notre Dame, whatever you want to say. He did that first. It has one bad element in it, right? The rats. I don't
Yeah.
think they're in the kitchen, but the rats all over the
Belfry.
city. Yeah. And then the follow-up in the Year of the Dragon was him going, well, how about I do it 12 times in a row
yeah.
for all these different things,
I can stomach it, I guess, sometimes, but I much prefer the whole. I start out with a few resources, now I'm taking 10 fish, now I'm doing this, and I love
Sure.
that, and La Havre has that in spades. So that's my number 1.
Cool. My number 1 is a game that came out right after the popularity of the show hit the mainstream
Oh.
pretty well.
Oh, duh. Right.
Yeah, duh.
I wrote that on my list and then crossed it off. I was like, that'll be
Right.
on Sam's.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
totally forgot about it.
Battlestar Galactica. And yes, I just put this on the last top 10. Get over it. Build a bridge. It's okay for me to put the same game on more than one list. There's nothing wrong with that.
We were not even getting your case there.
I know you
He's
guys
talking to them.
talking to them. But Battlestar Galactica is by far my favorite game from 2008. It has everything that I liked about the show. in its mechanisms. Just the back and forth, the tension between the humans and the Cylons. We don't know who the Cylons are. The people who are the Cylons sometimes don't even realize that they're a Cylon.
Right.
You know, and there's just a lot of tension that whole system or circumstance creates, and the game really captured it well. I like how thematic each of the different people and how their special abilities really played into how they were in the show as well, and all of that. Having said that, I don't think you have to be a fan of the show to appreciate the game and to enjoy the game, which is another plus for the game as well.
It's an odd plus, because most IP games, I think you do need to be a fan.
I had never seen that show when I played that game.
Yeah.
I got it, and I liked the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, eventually I played it out. It's not that I'd never said, oh, I don't like it. I like it. I just played it, I don't know, 5 times or so, and I was like, okay, I'm done with it. But
it's probably too long for your taste.
Yeah, probably, yeah. But I mean, I did enjoy it a few times, but yeah, I had never seen the show. And you'll even have to put up with a little bit of the old, like, people around the table making jokes you don't get or making references you don't get, but it does not hurt that play experience at all.
Anybody who plays Gaius Baltar is a Cylon. Period.
I hate that guy.
Period. End of discussion. Don't even try to talk your way out of it, because that's what he did.
He managed it. He pulled it off.
Not really.
Okay, well.
He just kind of enveloped it.
Quiet nerds.
Anyway, my number 1, Battlestar Galactica.
This was actually on my top 10 in 2008. This one has dropped a lot for me, but that's mostly because the length just got to me after a while, and I think there's a lot of games.
Oh, the expansions were also kind of hit and miss.
They were.
They didn't really help it a lot, except for a very niche group of people. And
Pegasus was fine.
Well, Pegasus was awesome.
Pegasus
having
was
the
fine.
Pegasus part.
That was the only part of that expansion.
Right.
that a lot of people
The
liked.
Pegasus expansion also had you going down to the planet for the end, and that was like...
You could choose to do that. That was
Right,
modular.
that's what I mean.
Yeah, that's... Anyway, that was by far my least favorite part of the show as well.
All right, because
Yeah,
I'm
it
really
took a
curious
while.
about Z's number 1.
That's certain
You know,
nerds.
what is it?
What?
My number 1 game
My Little Pandemic.
is
My Little Pandemic.
My Little Pandy.
No, oh my God, that's pretty bad.
Pandemic, yes. It's still my favorite co-op.
Still the one.
And like I said, I got it when it first came out. I remember getting it at the store, the original, unpretty version now, I guess. Just really being captivated by it, but it wasn't that sort of, there was not that frenetic energy around it back then that it's grown to garner. I still really like it. I think it brings everything that I want from a co-op. It's short play time, or relatively short, lots of choices. You can find the theme in it if you look for it, but it's mechanically driven for sure. It's lots of interaction. I never have the problem that a lot of people have with it, which is the alpha gaming thing. Just don't do that. That's not a gaming problem, folks.
Sir, stop it.
You know, I don't know why games get garbage for that. That's like
Some of
saying...
them are more prone to it than others. That's why.
I think some games do fight against it, and you are able to do that by just, like, if I tell you can't talk to each other. I can stop it happening, right? But I think blaming the game for having an alpha gamer problem is like, you know, showing up at a movie theater and spilling popcorn all over the floor and blaming it for being dirty. I mean, it's like, just don't do that thing, and then you don't have that problem. I don't know. But anyway, Pandemic, number 1.
That was a bad analogy.
It was. I was reaching for straws there.
I've been in some movie theaters where they're like,
Let me
just
think of another
dirty.
one.
I'm going to blame the movie
I'm gonna think
theater,
of
not
another
the
one.
people dropping the popcorn.
Blaming Pandemic for having an alpha gamer problem is kind of like Tom wearing all your hats, and then you complaining that they're stretched out. Just don't let him wear the hat.
What?
He's got a big old head.
That
Was that
super
better?
rude.
It was rude.
That was not rude. Having a large cranial cavity. Is that a thing? That is a compliment, my large-brained friend.
Oh, yes, I feel it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Pandemic.
All right, now, you might wonder why I didn't put Cosmic Encounter on the list.
It's a reprint.
There was just a reprint that came out. There was a lot
When
of...
we do the best games from 1977, we'll...
No, but I mean, when I was looking at the Cosmic Encounter, there was the best printing of that came out in 2008.
Yes.
Which also helped make this year great. The Axis and Allies Anniversary Edition came out in 2008. What else? The Formula D, which was a reprint of Formula Day.
Sure.
I thought you were going to put Aquaretto on your list. Or that one's faded for you, Sam?
Yeah, it has. It hasn't. It probably hasn't hit the table in years.
I also wondered if you might put Android on your list.
Again, I've
Such
only
a
played that a
weird
few
game,
times,
though.
but yeah, it was eccentric.
The original Android.
Yeah. And I also didn't put Time's Up Title Recall on my list because even though I like it better than Time's Up,
Android
just
is
Time's Up.
Android is probably, if you like Blade Runner.
Oh no!
If you like Blade Runner, you should definitely try to check out.
But
Android.
it is a convoluted game.
Yeah, it is.
It's weird to think though that some of these games, like Time's Up Title Recall, 10 years old now.
Yeah, I know.
feel like it just came out.
Well, they
lots
kind
of these.
They keep reprinting it and changing the art
Well,
box
sure,
art.
sure.
That's.
But,
I think for me, this is one of the beauties of board gaming that you don't get in any other entertainment industry quite the same, and that is some of these games. Like, I mean, I'm looking at like the Hanging Gardens. You put that game out in the exact same format, the exact same look today, and it'll look brand new. It'll look fresh. That's what I love about this. Some of these games, not all of them, some of them don't really hold up in the looks department or the freshness department. But some of these games, look like they just came out this week.
yeah,
That's
but
great.
there was 3 evergreens that came out this year, and that was Dominion, Dixit, and Pandemic.
Yes.
That's pretty impressive for any given year, I
Yes,
think.
I agree. Very strong year, in my opinion. One of my favorites.
Next year you get to 2009, you'll like that one better.
Hopefully.
Alrighty, folks, thanks for watching. Tell us your favorite games from 2008 in the comments. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Zee Garcia. Have a good one.
Sam Healy. See you on the flip side, folks.